Hello, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel / podcast / just a space where I can get my shit off and talk about what I feel is important to be addressed and framed in this current situation that I have. My name is Calvin, or CPJR if you know me, or CPJR 300 if you feel me, and absolutely no one is feeling me right now. So there's a lot been going on, right? With the current regime and what's going on now. We're seeing like some really strange things. Apparently, it's supposed to be a law enforcement action going on in Minneapolis that's supposed to be addressing the fraud that they found going on with, I guess, Somali daycare centers or daycare or whatever. I'm not gonna even address that. They were already investigating that and dealing with it. It's a lot of money that should be dealing with it, and that's wrong, right? Okay, so, but the administration decided to use that as a pretext or a way to get into the city with ICE, and then they were supposed to be. Now I'm trying to quote what they're saying verbatim, right? We're here to. There's a lot of fraud. We need to root it out and find out what's going on. So I'm going to send ICE in there. I'm going to send ICE in there, and they're going to run through the city, stopping everybody, asking for IDs, and verifying that they're a citizen, whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're brown, black, white or not. They're just gonna do what they got to do to go into the city like stormtroopers, wearing camouflage and carrying automatic weapons, what's it called? I'm sorry. Paintball guns with pepper spray in them, pepper spray in cans, spraying it out like they were like people are bears, just doing everything. And the pretext for that is they need to get the fraud out of Minnesota, and from what we've seen, it's horrific. It's been horrific. I have not seen. I'm not seeing what they see. I'm sorry. Take that back. We're all seeing the same thing, but it's been interpreted in different ways. They interpret it as if you are on the streets, you're hindering ICE, right? If you are standing with a sign in the street, you're hindering ICE. If you're walking down the street, you're hindering ICE. If you're standing quietly protesting in front of their barracks location, wherever they are, you're hindering ICE. If you're alive in Minneapolis and you're breathing, you're hindering ICE, right? So basically, they have declared war on life in Minneapolis. You know, from what we see, because I haven't seen a protester doing anything to an ICE agent. From what we see, is the ICE agents, or ICE thugs as I call them, doing everything to the people. I'm sorry, I need to do this first. I want to honor the two people that have been murdered by ICE. We have Keith Porter, who we missed. Nobody's really been talking about that. His daughter did a very passionate Instagram video talking about her father and how he was murdered, and it seems it just got glossed over. I'm not sure of all the details. He was actually shot by a off-duty ICE agent, and apparently they're saying that he had a gun too. So I don't know. I'm trying to find more information on it, but it's just very sketchy. Of course, there's no video, or if there is video, it's not being shown, and it wasn't going to be investigated anyway, because this woman, Renee Nicole Good, was murdered on video. Everyone can see what happened, but the interpretation of what the interpretation of what everyone sees doesn't fit the narrative that works for them, right? So if you want to believe that this young woman, according to them, is a domestic terrorist, this young white woman is a domestic terrorist, I don't know what a terrorist is then. Timothy McVeigh was a terrorist. The people that did 911, they were terrorists. And I don't know how many terrorists would actually smile at someone before trying to kill them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where they live and their reality. I seriously think sometimes we live in two separate realities, two separate things. So 2 people were killed by ICE thugs, and it wouldn't have happened had the ICE thugs not been in their locations, right? Okay, so we already know. I'm not going to really go into. I don't want to go into the whole situation of ICE and what they're doing and their plan, because we know what their plan is. Their plan is to cause as much havoc and to turn up as much protest. Turn up as much confusion and violence and hate and vitriol that they can, so that it will get to the point that I need to send in the military, because we already know they can't send in the National Guard anymore. That's been kiboshed in California. The president doesn't have any right to just take the the National Guard, and you do what he wants to do with them in any state, and then send National Guards from one state to another state, right? So that's unconstitutional. Unconstitutional or just stupid. I don't know what it is, but basically, so that's my actual point, right? Tonight, right? I wrote an essay of 2 nights about the Constitution and the oath of federal agents and people that are elected to office. They all take the same oath. Well, they all take different oaths, but in their oaths, it always says to protect and defend the Constitution. And I don't know how they do what they do and then constantly violate the Constitution. We know that this country, right? So I've in my paper I've wrote like, I've been in this country. I'm 60 years old, right? I'll be 60 years old in April, and I've known about the Constitution since I was small. When we used to watch TV on Saturdays, I'm Gen X. A long time ago, we didn't have cable, all that kind of stuff. You had cartoons on Saturday morning, right? And you got to watch the cartoons. So I guess they had a Schoolhouse Rock. ABC decided they wanted to teach some kids some things, and in that we had like the bill. I wanted to play that. The bill, they would teach us how a bill worked. They had conjunction, talking about adverbs, adjectives, all that good stuff. Actually, they taught you the preamble to the Constitution. So that was the groundwork, the groundwork for me understanding politics at a very young age, and then constantly following it and trying to understand exactly how this system works from a very young age all the way up to now. I constantly was just reading. I used to read the news, listen to talk radio, long time before podcasts. I was listening to like NPR and DC, so Diane Rehm show. We actually had Oliver North had a show, G. Gordon Liddy had a show. I listened to all those people talking about what was happening in the government constantly. And the one thing that the one thing we all could used to agree on was the Constitution, right? You basically every law that we have, state or federal, as I wrote, it has to be constitutional. And if you feel that it's not, or you feel that the law is unjust or shouldn't be there, you have a right to take it to court on the federal level, and then whatever jurisdiction. We learn a lot about courts now, and then you take that and maybe it gets appealed. They'll say either go back to the lower court or go to the higher court, and eventually, if it keeps going and nobody can make a decision whether it's constitutional or not, there is the Supreme Court, and they get the last say on whether something is constitutional or unconstitutional, right? So that's how our government has run. Congress passes laws, signed off by the president, and then the president execute those laws based on how he thinks they should be executed, and that also includes appropriating funds. He's the commander in chief of the military, but he's only supposed to use the military on authorized actions, meaning that if they, like when they went into the Iraq War, like I said, I'm 60, so I've been through the first Iraq War, second Iraq War, Afghanistan, ISIS, all those military actions, and they were all. I remember like the George Bush Jr. whatever come out and just saying about, talking to getting the okay from, or getting the authorization from the Congress, and then coming to the nation and saying this is what we're getting ready to do, and we started sending troops, and it was a big deal, right? People were going to lose their lives, but all that was, if anything in any of those actions became questionable, it was taken to court and resolved by the Supreme Court to say it's either this is constitutional or unconstitutional, right? And somehow from that time to this time, something changed, because now the Constitution is not being followed. They don't really care about it anymore, and it's strange because they were fine with the Constitution up to Barack Obama, right? Barack Obama won. He had 2 successful terms. Everybody, most of the country is pretty satisfactory. Most of the country was satisfactory with the job he did. Of course, there was controversies, as always. Some controversies with even with immigration. Some things weren't done correctly, and they corrected it. And as you should, it's always, you don't something wrong. You try to do a lot. There's a lot to do. Of course, there's gonna be mistakes, right? But now we have out and out, like, I don't care what the Constitution says. This is what you're gonna do. And it started at a certain point, because remember. And think back, and I'm gonna have one video I'm gonna play tonight. So think back when Obama won the election, right? What was the first thing they attacked him on, or all of a sudden he wasn't a United States citizen, right? You have to be a United States citizen. You can't be a naturalized citizen and be the president. You must be a citizen born in the United States, birthright citizenship, right? And so that was the first thing that got questioned, right? And his election spawned the Tea Party, and the Tea Party was super into the Constitution. Right? As far as they're concerned, the Constitution was not being followed. The government's too big. We need to get back to the Constitution and get this Kenyan out of the White House, right? So they did that for 8 years. For 8 years, they attacked this man on his where he was born at. Never surrendered any proof of his not being born in the United States. He has a Kenyan father. His mother was from the States, Hawaii, and he was born in Hawaii, right? Hospital records, everything. But they constantly kept saying that we're not following the Constitution because this man is not a citizen, or he not a real citizen because he wasn't born here. So the interesting thing about that, I wasn't born in the United States either. I was born in France. My father was in the military, mother over here too. But I'm a citizen because, as I said before, my birth certificate comes from the State Department, right? Because I was born overseas. Two American parents on a military base. So my birthright citizenship comes through that, right? There's no question in that. But I just want to remember, I remember and the reason I bring that up about being born out of the country and still being a citizen, a birthright citizen, like a natural citizen. They say FBA, foundational Black American. Was that we saw ICE. It's a video. I know everybody's seen it who actually follows this stuff. This young lady, she had an accent. She was, ICE ran up to her. She was just going. She was walking down the lady handles her very well, right? She had an accent, maybe from South America. So she handled herself very well. She says, "No, I will not show you my ID. I'm a citizen." Right, and then the officer, what was the thug? What was the first thing he said? He said, "Where were you born?" And what does that got to do with anything? I'm a citizen. It doesn't matter where I was born at. Once you're a citizen, you're a citizen, naturalized or not. I know they're going to try to start getting rid of naturalized citizens, but I don't know why. So anyway, but she's perfectly right. She's a citizen. It doesn't even matter where I'm born at. I'm a citizen. You know what I'm saying? On my ID, it's a real ID, has that little star stating that I'm a citizen. I got my ID the right way through the state, and then the state had to verify that I was a citizen. That's it. Just no more about it. But the law states we have the right to we don't have to go outside for a walk and make sure we carry our license with us or our passport with us. We never had to do that. I always do that. The people thought I was crazy when I will not walk out the house without my ID, and this has been a long time, right? I don't know where it come from. Me being black and just worried about being stopped by police, because that happens. When you're black in America, you will get stopped by police at random times, out of the blue. So I'm gonna always have my license with me, and this is long before this happened. This is like in my 20s. I used to always carry my license with me and will not walk out the house without my license. To this day, I always have ID on me because I don't know when it's going to happen. And I've had to tell officers that, no, I'm not. Can I see why? Why do you want to see my license? What's going on? I don't know anything about that. To you, am I? You know what I'm saying? The whole am I being detained thing. I don't do that. I'm just like, no. Why am I going to show you my license? For what? Is there a problem? You need to tell me what the problem is. You need to tell me what's going on, and then I'll decide if I need to show you my license, or if you're gonna detain me, that's fine too. Just arrest me, or whatever you need to do. But I don't really know what's going on. You just coming up to me asking for my license. I'm not gonna just do that. We have that right as citizens, right? And then he told her that, get in the car and all this kind of stuff. It was very scary. If you don't show me your license, you're going to have to get in this car. I'm going to take you to the car. If you take you to the car, you might not get out. You know what I mean? Like trying to scare and intimidate the woman. She held her ground, though. She definitely held her ground. She says, you're scaring me. I should not have to walk around where I live scared, afraid. I should be able to walk. I'm a citizen. I should be able to walk out here free, and I don't have to have my ID. I don't have to show you my ID. She was perfect. She was absolutely correct. And people came up, started honking their horns, and she backed down, which was great. She handled that perfectly. So we all agreed before Barack Obama was elected that everything was cool. We followed the Constitution, and they got super mad about it. And then they said we're gonna follow the Constitution even more. They were walking around with giving out pocket constitutions. The Constitution was it. That was the number one hit. That was the best, New York bestseller, the Constitution, during that time. If you remember that time during the Tea Party. So the Tea Party moved into the MAGA. So even the current president, even got into the whole "you're not an American citizen." He promised to. He said he had documents to show that the man wasn't born in America and never produced any. He lies a lot. So it's kind of, so we got up to this point, and then we get this guy in. The first thing he do when he gets into the White House, the first run, is just started signing executive orders that were not constitutional over and over again, to the point where he got impeached twice. He just didn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't really follow the law or like to follow the law. And I'm gonna tell you this he doesn't really like following the law, and this is apparent all through his business. When he went after the Central Park 5, his charity was a scam. His university was a scam. He just scams all the time, and he's rich. If you're rich and you scam, and all the hotels go bankrupt. So if you're rich and you got a scam, there's definitely something wrong with you. Like, I don't know. I'm by no means rich, never have been rich. We grew up well off. My father was, we were definitely upper middle class, and that afforded us some privilege. So, but never really rich. So once I started to work, you know what I mean, I decided to work. Like at 16, I worked, period, because I wanted to make money and I had to take care of myself, and that's what I did. But I never understood the point where people who are rich never have enough. I think they have a hoarding mentality. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people say this. Once you get the money, you get scared of losing it, so you get acting strange. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? When I think about it, when you become rich and you start working, there's gonna be a gap in your resume. Maybe you're scared if you have to go back to work, you may not get a job again. I don't know. So I don't know what causes people once you get a certain amount of money, like over 50 million, that you still need more. I don't know. That's a weird thing. We need to investigate one more. And why, if you're a billionaire, why do you need two? If you have 1 billion, why do you need two? If you have two, why do you need three? Your life's not going to change anymore, I don't think, after you get the first billion, unless you want a fleet of yachts. You know, that's very expensive. I learned that over the COVID. The pandemic, just I all of a sudden got to watching yacht videos on YouTube, and definitely boating, and yachts are expensive. To own a boat is expensive. So I guess if you want to live that life and never have to worry about it, and then you want to, because they seem to buy new yachts like every 5 years or so, you're gonna need a lot of money. Is that your lifestyle? Right? In the Bible it says, I think Paul said, I've learned something to live, a base and a bound. He was okay. I'm okay if I'm up or if I'm down. I'm not a Christian, by the way. I'm okay if I'm up, and I'm okay if I'm down. And that it seemed to be how I conducted my life. I used to be a Christian, so I know some of the Bible. I probably know more than most, but I probably forgot more than most. I don't even own one now. I used to own a bunch of Bibles. And that's how you get out of religion. If you want to get out of religion, study religion. I mean, really, really study it. I mean, get down into it and study it. And then once you study it, start watching what's going on and listen to how they are presenting it to you, and try to verify what they're saying. And then you'll start seeing inconsistencies, and then you'll worry about where this came from, why we do this. And then you'll look that up, and then you'll go down deep. I'm not telling anybody to, get out of religion. Whatever it takes for you to be happy on this earth, on this long journey that we're on, do that. Whatever brings you peace. The Bible always says, seek peace, pursue it. That's how I live, or I want to live. I'm trying to get there. If I can just live peaceful, that's all I want. Leave me alone. So let's go back to what I'm talking about. So we up to Obama and the Constitution, right? So the Constitution was the law of the land till Trump came in. All of a sudden, we don't really follow the Constitution. Executive orders seem to be fine. We don't need laws. We just do executive orders. So they have this. So all of a sudden, after Trump was elected, we start hearing about these other organizations, right? We start hearing about the Federalist Society for the lawyers and the Heritage Foundation for the policies. That's the 1-2 punch of how we got to this situation, right? The Republican Party was already a mess. I don't know if you remember Newt Gingrich, they started taking I knew something was wrong when they started taking pledges. You know what I'm saying? They started taking pledges to the party and not to their constituents. Like now, everything they've done, the big beautiful bill hurt most of their constituents. They did not care. They had no answers for them at the town halls. They don't care, right? They care more about party than their constituents or country. And that started for me when Newt Gingrich got in office. It actually started with Ronald Reagan. Once Newt Gingrich, I think he was a senator, maybe a House, I don't know, one of those two. He was in the Congress, but he ruled Congress, right? Especially Republicans, because it was party over constituents, party over country. That's the Republican Party, and that's something I can't do. But anyway, that's how they got them to just always fall in line. I'm not sure because they came up with the name Republican in name only. If you go against one of their what was it, John McCain, him. If you go against their policies and don't be so a real Republican will always put party over constituency or their people. It's party first. They don't care. The big beautiful bill was not for us, right? It was not for us at all. It was for them to continue their assault on our way of life and the Constitution. And on the Constitution. And then there's a chilling video I'm gonna play real quick and short. That when I saw this video in 2024 during the election, and I had already known the Heritage Foundation. I actually got called in for an interview. I'm in IT, called in for an interview. Very creepy place. Very creepy place. When I say creepy, I don't mean creepy in any type of way. It's in DC near Union Station, up in Northwest. Yeah, or maybe that's southeast. I think it's northwest, Capitol Hill. Anyway, very close to the Capitol building. They pay money for this, right? So looks like an old building, like it's been there forever. I think they were founded in '83. The Heritage Foundation was founded prior to the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society is '82 when they decided how they needed to get everything back to the way they wanted to be. Right. So let's go. Let's go back on. This video. So I saw this video in 2024. I think a lot of people saw it, and it actually alarmed us, and it kind of like freaked me out. Like, we have to win this election because they have a plan. If you watch Battlestar Galactica and you watch the new Battlestar Galactica and the Cylons, and they said, "Oh, and they have a plan." The Cylons had a plan to take over, kill humanity, and they have a plan. And their plan was Project 2025. Roll the tape.
Leaders on the right are applauding the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity, including the president of the Heritage Foundation, who says that it's vital to getting the country back, as he gives an ominous warning to the left. Listen.
In spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
CNN's Kristen Holmes is here. So, Kristen, help us understand what that Second American Revolution that he's promising entails.
So before we get started, because I'm going to use this magic wall, I just want to note that I've actually never been allowed to touch this before, so please bear with me as we get through this. Okay, so first let's talk about who that person was. Kevin Roberts. He is the head of the Heritage Foundation. The reason why we care about this is a conservative think tank, a very prominent one, but also they are the umbrella organization of what is called Project 2025. And essentially what Project 2025 is that this was set up by not just the Heritage Foundation, but dozens of conservative think tanks from across the country, many of whom have former administration officials of Donald Trump's. And they did this to essentially avoid what happened in 2016 when Donald Trump was elected and there was no kind of infrastructure in place, and they had to start from scratch when it came to a transition. They wanted everything to be in place so that a transition would be smooth. Now, the one caveat of all of this, when we link it to the Trump campaign, is yes, they are doing this for a potential Trump administration, but on the other part of this, the campaign has said that anything that comes from anyone other than the campaign is not from the campaign and should not be considered that way. So the reason why I say that is because some of what the Project 2025 has put out there is very controversial. So they basically have these four pillars: policy, agenda, personnel. They're building out a huge network of, basically, it was actually described to me as a dating website for conservatives, the kind of infrastructure to match conservatives with jobs in a potential administration, training them to work on day one, what that would look like, and a playbook for what the first 180 days would look like of a conservative administration.
So walk us through this policy agenda.
So basically they have these four parts within the policy agenda of what they say will make America better. And here are some of the ways that they say they do that. Restoring the family at the centerpiece of American life, protecting our children, self-governance, dismantling the administrative state and returning self-governance to the American people. One of the things we've talked about extensively is one of the plans for, Donald Trump has said this himself as well, but also Project 2025, is to essentially give more power to the executive branch and take some of these government agencies, and that would include agencies like the Department of Justice, and move them under the executive branch. So right now in the Constitution, there's nothing that says that the Department of Justice is separate from the administrative branch. We've just operated like that under essentially decorum for the past several decades. They're saying that shouldn't exist anymore. You also have this idea of defending the nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. Obviously, a lot of references here to immigration, but also the idea of an America First policy, kind of ignoring our global allies and focusing on America first. And then liberty, securing our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty.
Yeah, very sort of typical flowery platitude language, but underneath it, it comes with the promise of a reworking of the federal government to specific aims that we haven't seen before.
Well, that would be a huge change in the executive power and give unprecedented amount of power to someone like Donald Trump if he were to win. But the other part of this is, like, when you talk about protecting children and family, this is kind of what they're getting at. Rescind regulations prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, and sex characteristics. Something that we have heard is very much part of the Republican platform. They say all the time, Donald Trump, you hear him say it, that he thinks that women shouldn't be, or men shouldn't be in women's sports. They talk about sexual education within schooling. They want that out of any kind of education system. So these are kind of some of what they have outlined here. I believe this is the one. Policies, well, this one would obviously likely apply to Donald Trump here. Prepare a plan to end immediately any policies, investigations, or cases that are contrary to law or administration policies. How exactly would that look, particularly given what Paula was just reporting about trying to get cases even passed when he was elected? A lot of this stuff, it seems traditional, but it has been very controversial. It seems traditional for Republicans, but it's very controversial and goes pretty far.
And it goes back to that idea of an executive with unprecedented power. Kristen Holmes, you did fantastic for your first time.
I really felt like I was.
How did it feel? Felt good?
Yeah, I felt good. I felt like I was getting.
So that's basically how that's the beginning, right? When you saw the guy, I forgot his name now. The president of Heritage, he's not the president anymore. I think he got too much heat because of the way he did that. He basically said that this will be it will be a second revolution, and it will be a bloodless if we allow it. Now, I took that as a threat, right? And it was a threat, and it's not bloodless, right? They're killing people. It's a revolution on their end, meaning that they no longer want to follow the Constitution as it's written, right? One of the first executive orders signed by the president was to end birthright citizenship, right? Now it's controversial. The birthright citizenship, it says in the Constitution, if you're born here, you're here. And they say that came about because of slaves, because we were born here, but we didn't have, our parents weren't, we had to get, if you were born at that time, your parents were here too. They didn't have citizenship either. So they had to have a way to have us be considered citizens after slavery, and there was a birthright citizenship. So basically, if you're born here, you're a citizen. Meaning Native Indians were citizens, and it wasn't based on anything else. It was based on where you're born. And there's about 35 countries that do have that. Some countries have that the parents have to be citizens also. I really don't have a problem with actually reviewing that. Not retroactively, but going forward, because I still believe that if you're born here, you should be a citizen. I think they're talking about, there's some people who do get pregnant and then they'll come here, have the baby, and then the baby's a citizen. And they're talking about anchored children. The whole thing about immigration. Immigration is I don't really have the fear of immigration that they have. I don't really know where that comes from. Xenophobia, maybe. I don't have that problem. Like I said, I live in a sanctuary state. We're going to be under fire probably soon before this is over. But and I think we need to learn how to handle that too, unless ICE, because ICE is attacking us. So, but anyway, so I don't have a problem with immigration that everybody else does. I think, everybody should be screened before they come in. You shouldn't come across the border unless you go through the proper channels. But I do understand poverty, and I do understand that people want better for their children. And one thing about the South America, as we see with Venezuela, America has done a lot to hinder their growth, right? I don't know, and it's funny that Canada's fine, but South America is not. We're in North America with Canada. We got Central America and South America. You know, all that was done through was it colonizers, and then some of the people are natives there, and especially in Mexico. But nobody tampered. I don't think they've ever really tampered with Canada's government, but definitely have because Canada's more aligned thinking with Europe. So, well, they're also white. But then you have South America, which is a mess, which they've intervened and killed and put in dictators and all that kind of stuff. And we did the same thing just now in Venezuela, where we took the president out. The president, they say he was a drug dealer, bad man. He got charges. They're not going to be the charge. I think he's going to get off, or he's going to take a plea and go home or go to Russia. But anyway, so they took that president on a regime change, and which was they didn't get any. They sent the military in, and they didn't go for any authorization from Congress, right? The Constitution. They don't care about the Constitution. Taking their oil. Took the oil from them, and he took the oil from them. So he turned our United States Navy into a pirate organization. So basically, he sent the aircraft carrier strike group to sit off the coast, blow up boats. He said that were suspected of being drug boats. Nobody knows what those boats were. I talked about this before. And then sent Coast Guard frigates to take the oil tankers over. I don't know what you call that, the term for that, but basically, that's privateering, right? Privateering was what they used to do back in the day, where they countries would raid other countries' ships and take the they called it privateering. It was piracy. So think about this. Then they took the money, they just sold the first. I've seen other videos. That oil is not. We don't need that oil. That oil is not good for our refineries, or it's hard to get out. It's a heavy oil. But the oil, you already get that type of oil from Canada. So putting that other oil on the market degrades lowers the price for that oil, because there has to be a price point that have to hit, or has to be so much per barrel to make getting that type of oil profitable, which we get from Canada. And if you bring Venezuela online, it could crash the prices in Canada or reduce the prices in Canada. But the infrastructure is really bad in Venezuela because it's been neglected because of sanctions that we put on them for years. So no constitutional there. I don't really know what they're doing now with the oil. Take the oil, the money's not going to Treasury. It's going to a private account and a private Qatar account that only the executive branch can access. And I don't know if Venezuela getting any of that money. I don't know anything. So people put their lives in danger, kill people, blew up boats, all that stuff for the president to get the oil money, and that's that. There's no regime change. Nothing's changed on the ground. Other than now, Stephen Miller says, y'all fine. Oh, go back home now. We took the guy out, lifted your temporary protected status, and now y'all can go, right? So this is what this regime does, because they do not follow the Constitution, but they took an oath to the Constitution. Also, everybody, I had to look this up because I was like trying to wonder. We already know that the ICE thugs are completely unqualified. They're completely unprofessional. They're being hired fast. They like violence. They have no problem yanking a woman out of the car or a man out of the car. A young man just lost his eye because they shot with pepper balls. To see protesters on the sidewalk lined up quiet, and then to see a group of armed in camouflage gear, combat gear, helmets, multiple cartridges in their vests, automatic weapons, paintball guns, and they just started advancing on the crowd. And the crowd isn't doing anything but just standing in the street. Now, how you justify that other than you want to cause trouble? You want to cause violence. You want to make this place less safe. You want some kind of action out of them, which is, again, You took an oath to defend and protect the Constitution, or protect and defend the Constitution, whichever. But I don't see any of that happening anymore, because I think they've given up on the Constitution. Prior to 2025, they said revolution. So if you have a revolution against your own country, that's treason, first of all. And second of all, it's not going to be bloodless. It's already bloody, and it's not on our part. There's been no ICE officer shot. There's been no ICE officer shot. There's been no ICE officer attacked. There's been, I don't know what's going on. There's been no outward aggression. I think there's been an officer shot at. It's been a long 2 years, or a year and a half, or a year and a month. There's been no outward aggression from anyone of any type of law enforcement in these incidents, because we see the play. We know the play is insurrection. We see the play, and basically everything this administration is doing is to stay out of jail. Obviously, if you're doing all these things against the Constitution, there's little dudes writing it down. There's people just writing it down, taking pictures, putting it together. They're amazing. Putting it together, putting pictures together, just like they found all the Jan 6 people. They're just waiting for the time to go, right? They're not going to let it go. Because there must be justice. There must be retribution. There just must be justice. And if you're doing things that you believe are, that you know should be unconstitutional, you should know that, because you took the oath. And if they don't know that and they didn't take the oath, I don't know, I'm not sure if they did take the oath. Basically, because we just heard this week that they aren't doing screenings. A reporter just did it on a lark, and she got the job. She knew she wasn't gonna pass her drug test. They didn't care about that. Marijuana, she smoked legal marijuana, which I'm an advocate. We advocate that. So I don't know why they're still testing for that, right? It's illegal in most states. So anyway, she knew she probably wouldn't have got caught. She would have got that done. She got hired like in 9 days. If you know anything about the government and the whole the classified thing, top secret, public trust, those things take time. There's a lot of paperwork, fingerprints, pictures, and they do call your people and talk to them. There has to be a secret clearance, I will probably think. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked that up. I know what they get paid. I know how the $50,000 work. But you would think that they would actually take more time to screen these people, because these people are going to be out in public. Now, here's how I envision if it was a real ICE coming to a place they want. I would think they would be going through the records, court dates, when people are coming. But I don't know about legals. I don't know how you're going to solve illegal. Maybe you would stop at a restaurant, you go in, clipboard in hand. Maybe you got a couple of officers with guns. But coming in with helmets and masked up and automatic weapons, there's another agenda. The agenda is not an immigration customs enforcement. Immigration and customs enforcement. That's not the agenda. And why customs and border patrol is in Minneapolis, I have no idea. That makes no sense to me, because they wear straight military garb. They carry automatic weapons, and they are the worst. There's a whole video on them on Netflix. I just started watching it, but just seeing it, I already know it's gonna be bad. I haven't finished it yet, because there's so much going on in the news that I don't have the feeling to watch it. So back to what I'm talking about. So somewhere along the line, after Obama, and then Trump and MAGA they have decided that the Constitution doesn't fit their vision of America anymore, right? So they're doing everything they can to do what they need to do before the time runs out. And that may even mean trying to end the midterms, not do the midterms, because we already know 47. He's going to jail if he's still alive. I mean, he's done. He's going to jail. He's already got charges. He got a conviction. It's sitting right there waiting for him. So he has no reason to leave office. You know what I'm saying? To want to. There's no easy life when he get out, because there's going to be multiple court cases against him again. Right? I don't think he understands how a court case works, because he's just saying, I need you to go and prosecute him. But on what charge? I don't know. Find a charge. I think he believes that's what they did to him, but he breaks laws. I don't understand that. All his life he's broken laws. The man is a gangster, right? He has blown up 30 boats, killed 85 people to get the oil in Venezuela. He convinced the military that this needs to be done to stop the flow of fentanyl into the country, and then Maduro is captured, but there's no more boats being blown up. That's not a I don't even hear anything about that anymore. That I guess Maduro was the only drug dealer, or only the vice president's in charge. The vice president of Venezuela is in charge of the country now, but she didn't know about the drug dealing. She's not a drug dealer. She's in control. I don't think the president is in control of the entire country. This is just like when we went into Iraq, right? Nobody really knew. I didn't even know what a Sunni and a Shiite was until the war, and all hell broke out in Iraq. Then I'm like, oh, Saddam's a Sunni. And you got the Shia, that's Iran, and they don't like each other, and they gonna fight each other for control. And then Saddam was killing them. So it wasn't gonna be as simple as going in, killing Saddam, and then disbanding the army, and then we're gonna build the system all over again. We're gonna create a stock market for them, and that didn't work. And this is gonna be the same thing for. So I don't really know what they were doing. Well, they were doing a gangster move in Venezuela. They wanted that oil. I don't know why they want the oil. The whole world is moving from oil. It's gonna take some time, but that's not the direction we're going in, and it's not. The world isn't really crying for the people who needs that oil. He don't want to give it to them. Cuba needs the oil. China, Russia, right? Cuba, he's trying to starve Cuba out. So those are our neighbors. Our neighbors are treated like stepchildren, unwanted stepchildren. And unless they give in, it's going to be a hard time. I don't even know what giving in means anymore, because it changes day in and day out. We have no reason for him really to want Greenland. That's just something that he wants. All right, so let's talk about. I want to just address. I've been talking long. I want to address these two organizations that just sit there. When I say it was creepy when I went there, it was a nice place, but you could tell like. Most of the people that worked there were white, of course. They're Republicans. But everybody else, they did the support positions, IT, the reception, security. They were all black, of course, right? Because that's their vision for America, right? We support their life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what Remember when J.D. Vance said, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore? That's what he means, right? You don't have to apologize for expressing your true thoughts about who is in charge and who should be doing what. You don't have to be, saying, you could walk into a building and say, y'all didn't get this job on your merit. You got it through DEI. Of course. And a white man should be having that job. You should be able to say that as a white person. You don't have to apologize for what you think is right, because you know it's right. All right, so the Project 2025, we know what it is. It's almost implemented. It's basically taking over the government, and eventually they're going to try to change the Constitution. He called it a revolution. He said that it would be bloodless. Of course, it's not going to be bloodless because we're Americans. We're going to fight. What the hell? This is an awesome country to live in when it's cool. So let's talk about I haven't read all I haven't read all of Project 2025 because I don't want to. Because you know what's coming next? Project 2026. It's already out there. Project 2026. So there's some things that are very strange about the whole issue, that the policies and the focus of the Heritage Foundation. They want to, and this is reading straight from their information, they want to discourage online dating. They want to create marriage boot camps through collaborations between the Department of Health and Human Services and local organizations or churches. What churches? National Christian Nationalism? Those churches? So we don't have a church in this country, right? We have freedom of religion, and you're free to worship wherever you want to worship, and you're free not to worship. I'm an agnostic, spiritual agnostic. I do not believe in a deity. No, I don't. It's not that I don't believe in a deity. I'm sorry, I'm agnostic. I don't know, but I do believe in spirituality. I do believe. Probably, if I had to really like nail something down, I'm more towards Buddhism. But that's not. But that's okay, right? In this country, we don't have to belong to a church. But this is a policy they want to press, and they also want to curb access to in vitro fertilization. I guess it destroys eggs. So that's their vision of America. They want to press that, and you already know that. What I'm reading doesn't fit the Constitution. The Constitution stops all that. We've been through that. Project 2026, the new one, it's more anti-LGBTQ goals and targeting same-sex marriage. So they want to come out of same-sex marriage. It's a done deal. It's not even a law. It came through the Supreme Court. So they want to get rid of that. We already know that this Supreme Court is primed to overturn precedent or old cases or old decisions because they've already done it. And how do we get these people in the Supreme Court? The sister organization, or the other hand of the Heritage Foundation, which is the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society, they go around scooping up young, impressionable, conservative lawyers, right? And what are their goals? The Federalist Society goals is to promote foundational principles, raise awareness on principles such as the state exists to preserve freedom. I don't even know what that means. Like, I haven't seen if the state exists to preserve freedom, and I'm walking down the street and ICE comes up and demands me to give them my ID. How is that preserving freedom? Separation of governmental powers is central to the Constitution. I don't even want to go there. Okay, judges should say what the law is, not what it should be. Okay. So basically, they do originalism also. Originalism, meaning that they believe that the Constitution should be interpreted as it was written back in a time where men dressed like women and wore powdered wigs. Okay, and people rode horses. They had muskets, and there was no internet. There wasn't that many people. Wasn't that many states. So for me, that's a setup, because what you're saying is you want the country the way it was when white people were in charge. Black people weren't even citizens at that time, right? So how can you interpret the Constitution, the original, whatever the founders were thinking at the time? Do you think they will be thinking the same way now, as if they didn't grow up, if they didn't actually see the country growing and become prosperous? The prosperity of this country came through the liberal movement. All the protections, because we wouldn't have nothing if the Republicans were involved. We would still be slaves. All the protections, the safety net, they're trying to take away. All and just the growth. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things were wrong. You know, that's of course they were wrong. Capitalism is dangerous if you don't have capital. If you have capital, it's nice. Capital is money. Or this actual is thing you own. Money is not capital. Yeah, it can be. I'm sorry. You can convert it to capital. I should say that. So yeah, capitalism is fine if you have capital, but if you're not an owner and you're a worker, it's pretty dangerous. Meaning that you owe your existence, your being, your way to make money to the capitalist. What I want to say. The people that are capitalists, the capitalist class, or the people that own the owner's class, you owe your life to them, and they could do what they want to do, right, to you. So these two organizations, with their conservative views, and conservatism is to conserve things the way they were or the way they are, move slowly. So basically, from the time that they were wearing the frilly clothes and the powdered wigs, and they were in charge, they want that back, right? And the Constitution, for some reason, didn't stop that from changing, or in their mind, what happened was it went the wrong way, and they want to get it back on track, meaning that they're back on top. And that's basically what we see right now. And then you have the people who. All these people took the same oath, right? Protect and defend the Constitution. They don't have the same vision of the Constitution. They don't want the same Constitution. They want to change it. And we know that from the executive orders that are coming out, because basically most of his executive orders, the insurrection he tried to do, all that stuff is getting struck down by the Supreme Court because it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. But that don't stop them. And I know courts run slow, and it gets scary to see what's happening. But as long as we have the systems in place, the institutions in place, there's still hope. Now, if the institutions fall apart, then we have problems. We already lost Congress. And if we don't have this next midterm, that's going to be a problem. That's gonna be a problem. We gotta have a midterm. It gotta be a problem. Fair, unmessed with elections, right? The same way we had it in 2020, 2024, 2016, and on. Those elections were fair, and they remain that way. Now, if you want to, they want to game the system, of course. And basically in the Constitution, it does say the states run the election. That's why everyone says that we're not gonna have the midterms. Okay, that's in the Constitution. We gotta have the midterm. We gotta have elections. And him, I think when you hear him, what we see now more and more is him being afraid of what could happen, because he's not doing anything to try to win. He's just doing everything he can to make sure that he wins, legally or illegally. So that's something we have to watch out for. But I just want to this is where my mind is. This is how I see it. I see that they no longer want to follow the Constitution. They want a new Constitution, and they want a new country. And it started with the Heritage Foundation, the president, whatever his name is, who said that he wanted a second revolution, right? They think that the way the country, the inclusion, the diversity, other people getting rich, doing things they want to do, other people living outside of religion, because we don't have to be religious. That's not in the Constitution. We have freedom from religion in the Constitution, freedom of religion in the Constitution. So them wanting to end online dating, that is so weird. End online dating and same-sex marriage, and they also want to encourage. We used to get the child care tax credit. They want that credit to increase as you have more children. And we already heard what J.D. Vance wants to do. He wants to, if you don't have children, your votes limit. So the more children you have, the more votes you get. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, wow. So that's it. We're at a point. We're at a tipping point where they are openly. They're not just saying anything. They're acting as if the Constitution is irrelevant. It needs to be changed, and they're gonna follow their vision of what the Constitution is or should be. Right now, I do want to talk a little bit about resistance and what's happening. I'm gonna put the link in my bio, but I did see a very good plan of resistance. It's basically setting up, and when ICE comes in your town, they're gonna lock it down. That we lock down too, right? That if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go, because you already know the play. Everybody knows the play now. Once you know the play, you have to come up with your response to the play. You got to pivot, right? Stay on your pivot. You have to pivot and then meet it correctly. All these cowards on Instagram are not saying, it's time for the Second Amendment. It's time for the Second Amendment. Why are you saying that and not doing it? If that's what you want to do, do it. Don't encourage other people to do what you won't do. That's some sucker shit, right? We already know that. It's on you do that. Don't encourage other people to do that. And it's not even that time yet. It's not even that time yet. And I guess I can say that because I haven't, had ice up in my face. But then we have to act like we know what's coming and then adjust accordingly. So there is a link in my bio. People have been thinking about it, and there's a whole plan on how to resist them by not giving them what they want. And because we can't. Okay, Second Amendment rights. You pull out a gun, you shoot a ICE agent. Legally, illegally, I don't care. It's a righteous shooting, unrighteous shooting. We already know that they're gonna think of it as a unrighteous. They're gonna go ahead and treat it as if it's not a just shooting, right? It's not as illegal because you shot an ICE agent. Let's say you shoot 2 or 3 ICE agents. The military is going to go in, and we don't have that guarantee anymore that the military is not going to be, it's not going to follow illegal orders. We don't know that anymore. I don't think they have the time to actually go through, and they maybe filed a lot of JAGs. So the JAGs are, who knows? There was a plan to use JAGs as. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because those are the people that say whether what you're getting ready to do is lawful or not. So they've already said that what they would do, and we know we can't. In real time, the military can't adjust in real time, right? They can't adjust in real time. They have to either follow order or don't follow order. They may go through this whole thing about what's the thing? Rules of engagement, things like that, and they will use the JAG to come up with that. We don't really know what they will do anymore because they've and I respect the military, but they have done some questionable things so far. Now, we already know he can't or won't do the National Guard anymore because they told him he can't. He should use the military. That's what he has. He shouldn't use their military. But see, he's supposed to also work with the governors. I don't think that's going to happen because he's saying that he's calling, he does call everybody names, saying they're illegitimate, they're crooks, they're this and that, and then he goes to do what he wants to do. So we're in a bad place right now, but we need to strategically think about, and I wish we could come up with a leader like, we had a leader like we had with Martin Luther King. Got it right here. What to do? It's an article on Substack. What we do to fight back, the strategy ICE can't outrun, and that's a nonviolent strategy. I don't know what happened. The younger people really don't have a reverence for Martin Luther King like I had or we had growing up. We would sit around listening to his speeches on the 15th. We just had a closer. I guess we were just closer to it, or just had a more of a reverence for it. of what the movement was and what they achieved. And like I say all the time to people, we didn't get our civil rights through violence. We got our civil rights being peaceful and having violence done to us. We don't have to have that done because you don't have to be out on the street. They can't. This is ICE. This isn't Here's the thing about ICE. ICE isn't a police force. ICE is customs enforcement, immigration enforcement. And same with the Border Patrol. I don't know why we're clashing with them because they are there and you're upset. It's emotion, right? I don't know. You do what you think is right for you. I like this plan on how to do it peacefully. Get them in, get them out. I know that they're going to snatch immigrants, documented, undocumented. Y'all need to hide and don't be outside because it's like we have to get through this, right? We have to get through this, right? We can't. There's no fighting this. There's no fighting the military. There's no fighting the ICE thugs. You can call me a punk or whatever. I already know it's not gonna work, right? They got bigger guns. They have planes. They have flamethrowers. They have rocket launchers. They have grenade launchers. You ain't got none of that, right? And you think they won't ratchet up. They will ratchet up. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to go ahead and close on this one. I'm going to tell you this. If you've been trained, like when I know when they went into Venezuela and got that guy out or got a chance to blow them boats up, they were jazzed. Because basically, if you train them to do something for years and years and years and years, you're going to want to do it, right? But yeah, that's it, man. I just wanted to frame that and let you know that this is not a joke. They don't want the Constitution is the thing that we grew up and what our entire country, our laws were built on. We were supposed to be a country of laws and we're supposed to obey the laws. This regime is not here to obey laws at all because they don't want to anymore. They want to do what they want to do, and that is to get back on top and keep everybody else down. It is not about white and black. It is not about anything but class and money, right? The capitalists. The capitalist class, the owner class, wants to be back in charge. And they get to decide who comes up and who doesn't come up. All right? That's it. That's all I'm going to say today. Like I said, I wrote about it on my Substack. If you want to read what I was talking about, please subscribe to my Substack. It's free. And that's it. I'll see you next time. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next time, but we'll see what the winds blow this way. Peace out and blessings.